Hey there, welcome to 9 on 9, our weekly in-depth interview show. I'm Daniel Marin. The city of El Paso is opening up more and more amenities as we make progress to end the pandemic. So tonight we're talking about what's open, what's new, and what's on the horizon. 9 on 9 starts right now. Joining us this evening is the Managing Director of Cultural Affairs and Recreation for the City of El Paso, Ben Fife. Thank you so much for being with us, Ben. So we're talking about quality of life services, which is just kind of a city hall term for parks, libraries, museums, and you all are opening back up now.
Yeah, we are actually. So I would say it's a city hall term for all the fun stuff that the city does. We have heard loud and clear from the community over the last year of the pandemic that these services, which were offline for the most part due to safety reasons, are really something that the community values. And so we are so excited to be able to start rolling out phase 1 of operations for most of our departments and welcoming the community back.
And what does phase 1 entail?
So actually, phase 1 is actually a term we use, and it's a little different for each department. But primarily, we have limited operations right now that are primarily due to guidelines that have been developed by department heads working with the Office of Health and also the Fire Department, who collectively make up the Office of Emergency Management. We continue to remind people that we are still in a state of emergency, and while El Paso's numbers continue to go in the right direction, we need to be remaining vigilant so that we can continue to roll out further service activations.
One of the big services that's opening up right now are the water parks. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually I think the water parks are a great example of how even though a lot of people felt the city was closed, nothing was going on, there was a lot happening on those sites to be able to finish off building the water parks and be able to actually start rolling out the openings. So we actually have 3 that have opened up. They've been tremendously popular, and we are looking forward to the last one opening up this weekend. So these are 4 state-of-the-art water parks. Each of them has their own unique identity and branding. Everything from Day of the Dead to a desert oasis to summer camp to a Mayan kingdom. So they are just great opportunities to get out and beat this heat. It's fun for people of all ages. We've had a tremendous turnout of people, and we've had nothing but positive reviews.
You mentioned new community centers. Where are those?
So actually we have new community centers. We opened up this last April. One of them is at the Chamizal. That is the Chamizal Community Center. It's actually one of our first facilities that partners Parks and Recreation with the library system. So it is a community center with a library inside of it. So it's a great space to be able to work with the community in the Chamizal neighborhood. There's a spray park there as well as covered basketball courts, which are incredibly popular right now. We've also opened up the Valle Bajo Community Center. This is another example of one of those combos that has a library inside of it as well. That's actually located in the Mission Valley. And then we've opened up the Beast Community Center. That is part of the Beast Eastside Regional Park. That facility is incredible, state-of-the-art, has the new Eastside Natatorium with the first diving well in the city that's publicly accessible. We have the Oasis Spray Park out there, and it will eventually be part of a 95-acre complex that will be the largest municipal park in El Paso when it's completed.
Yes, I was wondering about that. So the Beast is only part of the Eastside Regional Park?
That's correct, actually. So it moves in phases. And so this was the culmination of phase 1. And so the rest of that will be rolling out. But that allows us to be able to not have to wait for the other part of the project to be finished to be able to welcome people into that pool, that community center, and those spray parks.
And why the Beast?
So that was actually a name that was generated through a community contest. We asked the community to come up with names for this new park, knowing it would be the largest one in the system, and that was the one that came to the top.
All right, well, we are just getting started here on 9 on 9. We got much more to come. We're going to be talking about museums, other quality of life services. Thanks for being with us. You're watching KTSM 9 News. And welcome back to 9 on 9. This week we are joined by Ben Fife, the Managing Director of Cultural Affairs and Recreation for the City of El Paso. And we are talking about quality of life services, basically the water parks, the spray parks, museums, libraries. Let's talk about the museums, Ben. So those have reopened as well.
Yes, actually. So we've actually opened 2 of our museums beginning in April. We were really excited to be able to open the 2 downtown facilities, Museum of History, the Museum of Art. We greeted visitors with 8 new exhibitions, another great example of the work that staff was able to do while we were closed. And we're excited that this weekend, as of today, our El Paso Museum of Archaeology has reopened to the public as well.
I would imagine that the pandemic, as challenging as it was, it also gave you all some time to kind of rethink what you wanted the museums to be, get some new exhibits in there. I'm sure you made use of that time.
Absolutely. There are a lot of projects that are very difficult to undertake when you are operating for the public. So we took advantage of some of the downtime to be able to do some infrastructure improvements. That's not always something that people get excited about in the public, but it helps us make sure that we're safeguarding the art and artifacts that are part of our charge. We also did a complete refresh on a lot of our galleries. We're really excited to be able to show the community, especially at the Museum of Art now, that almost 50% of the artwork that you will encounter is by artists of color or women. And so it's really, I think, making sure that our museums are incredibly more diverse and I think more reflective of the community that they are actually in.
What are some of the new exhibits that you are particularly excited about?
You know, I think the one that we have seen the most excitement about is actually at the Museum of History. It is called Low and Slow, Lowrider Culture on the Border. That has been a labor of love that has been in development for over a year with the curator at the Museum of History who worked really, I think, hand in hand with a lot of the car clubs here in El Paso. It's a great reflection of lowrider culture, which is such a huge part of what makes El Paso El Chuco.
Yeah, a quick shout out to my cousin Erika Marin, she's done an incredible job over there at the Museum of History. What else can people expect when they head out to the museums? What else is new?
So actually, there's an incredible exhibit on the history of Sunset Heights, one of our most unique and distinctive neighborhoods.
Very cool. What's the latest on the Children's Museum? How's that coming along?
So the Children's Museum right now is under construction, and so if you visit downtown right now, you're going to see some very tall cranes and a lot of work going on there. We're really excited that that project is well underway, another great quality of life project from the 2012 bond. And so if all goes well, we'll be looking at operations starting in 2024. But when it's completed, it will be 80,000 square foot facility that will be state-of-the-art, highly interactive, that's designed for multi-generational learning for El Paso families.
Something we had in one of our newscasts recently was a preview of the Children's Museum, and something that I thought was really cool is that it's going to be for children of different abilities as well.
Absolutely. So it was really important, as the Children's Museum was coming together through a series of community meetings. One of the things we had learned from the very earliest stages of the project, dating back to 2013, was also that people felt it was important that El Pasoans, not unlike a lot of other border communities, are multi-generational families. And so the space needs to work not just for really little kids, but for the older kids, the parents, the grandparents, the tias, the comadre, everybody's coming together, and we've got to make sure that we're reflecting that and that we're fun for everyone.
All right, well, we've got to take another quick commercial break. We will be right back. We're talking the City of El Paso's quality of life offerings here on 9 on 9 this evening. You're watching KTSM 9 News. And welcome back to 9 on 9. We're talking about the City of El Paso's quality of life offerings now that the pandemic seems to be subsiding. Things are opening back up. I'm joined by Ben Fife. He is the Managing Director of Cultural Affairs and Recreation for the City of El Paso. Ben, let's talk about the El Paso Zoo. There's a lot of cool new stuff at the zoo, and a lot of it actually opened right before everything halted because of the pandemic, so people haven't had a chance to actually check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think another example of some great projects that were brought about by the 2012 Quality of Life Bond. A lot of those opened right before the pandemic hit, and so for the most part, I think the majority of El Pasoans who visit the zoo now that it has reopened in phase 1 are encountering things for the very first time. So it's really exciting, new animal exhibitions, new features. But really, I think an expansion of the zoo's offerings that really, I think, show that it continues to be a big driving force for entertainment and education for El Paso families.
What about the libraries? What's new with the libraries?
So the libraries have actually reopened partially as well. Not all branches are open. Just as the case in Parks and Recreation, not every facility is open just yet. But really what this phase is about starting to roll out services regionally and allowing people to sort of come back in, be welcomed back. We're excited that this last week we actually were able to start opening up library facilities. Before it was really just curbside drop off and pickup. But people are actually able to go into the spaces now and I think get more of that experience. It's something that we've been really looking forward to. It's great, not just for the community, but I think it's something that we've seen through all the quality of life departments. Staff was really hungry to be able to connect back to the community that they serve.
And I would imagine, just as in the case with the museums, you probably could have used a little bit of time to do a little bit of work behind the scenes at the libraries.
Absolutely. There have been a number of libraries that have undergone renovation, and there actually will be a number of libraries that will actually not be able to reopening because of renovation coming up. And so it's a good problem to have. I think it shows that we're continuing to invest in the system and continuing to invest in ourselves as a community.
All right, we got to sneak in one more quick commercial break. We're going to come back. You're watching 9 on 9 here on KTSM 9 News. Stay with us. Welcome back to 9 on 9. I'm speaking with Ben Fife this evening. He's the Managing Director of Cultural Affairs and Recreation for the City of El Paso. We're talking about quality of life services, things like water parks, spray parks, museums, and libraries. Ben, also public art has been a big thing the city's kind of undertaken over the last maybe decade or so. And now we have that big door downtown, which is actually really cool. We have some video of it. We can put it up. What other kind of projects are in the pipeline?
So actually the public art program is incredibly busy. It's always punching above its weight. I take any opportunity I can to brag that our public art program is among the most prolific in the country. It has half the staff and double the output of a lot of major cities. And so the yellow door, which is titled Bienvenido, was actually recently installed downtown. It was perfect timing because it was just as our museums and our libraries and our zoos and our park facilities were starting to open. So it's a great way to welcome people back. But the project was actually planned to be able to be a welcoming point for people entering the downtown arts district from the Paseo de las Luces. And it's of course next to the two conserved historic hotels that just recently reopened as well as we're coming out of the pandemic.
How do you procure these pieces of art? How do you find the artists?
So actually it's a unique process. There's a variety of ways that we do it, but I should mention that every project that you see coming through the public art program is actually commissioned. So it's uniquely created for El Paso. The artists actually work with community to be able to vet those designs, to refine them before they're actually ever even fabricated or installed.
And these projects, the things like the turbines along Airway, are they permanent? Are they on loan to us? How does that work?
These are all permanent art projects. So they do belong to the city of El Paso. They belong to the citizens. I think what's really great about these projects and the public art program in general is that if somebody never crosses the threshold of a city museum, they're still going to experience incredible art in their neighborhood. You know, be it in a roundabout, be it in a library, be it outside of a fire station. You're going to see artwork that uniquely reflects who we are as a community and how artists are interpreting that. And I think it also helps create sense of identity for places. You know, I think the big yellow door, as people are calling it now, you're starting to see a lot of traction on Instagram and other things. That people start noticing that thing. They want to go there. They start identifying the place by that. You know, I think Lagartos in San Jacinto Plaza is another great example of that. So artwork really can you know, serve a myriad of purposes, and we're excited to be able to be part of that.
Ben Fife, the Managing Director of Cultural Affairs and Recreation for the City of El Paso. Thanks for being with us, sir.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us, of course. Don't forget, if you have an idea for a topic you'd like to see us cover here on 9 on 9, you can always reach out to me on social media. I am at KTSM Daniel Marin. Have a great Thursday, everyone.